Today is the 31st of January at 12 minutes past 11 in the evening over here in the UK, and I just wanted to quickly update an interpretation that I brought out recently about the stadiums and the possibility of something happening on the 3rd of February in relation to those. Now, the O2 Arena, as I mentioned before, on the 3rd of February, there's going to be a comedian there called Peter Kay, and I think that has connections to this character here, as well as representing George Bush and Donald Trump. The D on his hat is also representative of the word dunce, which is another word for fool, which is another word for comedian. And then the very next character is Obama. He's laughing, so again we get that connection to comedy, and he's wearing the graduation hat, which I think is connected to this area here, as in Ravensbourne University. The reason I think Ravensbourne University is because, taken from this scene here, I think this is representative of a dome, and the ravens fly out of it, or the ravens are born out of that. So Ravensbourne and a dome in close proximity, I'm kind of taking all those things and linking them together. And I was thinking the explosion that happens doesn't actually happen on the dome itself, it happens right next to it, and the explosion seems to affect the dome, causing it to collapse. And then you get the ravens coming out, or the Ravensbourne reference there. So going back to the O2 Arena, I was thinking, how hard would it be to sneak explosives into the arena? Obviously, if you owned it and you was part of the plan and all that kind of stuff, it'd be easy. But what are the chances it gets discovered by, someone or something? I was like, maybe it's easier to put it inside a university, maybe the basement of a university, or the venting or the ducting or something inside university, because it appears that the explosion takes place outside of the dome and affects the dome itself. And it may be that that's actually their plan, to put it inside the university and have it affect the O2 Arena while the comedy is taking place. So comedy, university, dome, Ravensbourne, explosion outside the dome. Possibly this would be where Ravensbourne University is, and this would be where the O2 Arena is. So kind of just linking all that together and thinking, okay, that may be what they're signifying there, that they're going to try and do that possibly on the 3rd of February, maybe on another date, or maybe not at all. Keeping all of that in mind, I then started looking at the second option, or the second stadium that I've talked about, which is the London Stadium, or the Olympic Stadium, or Queen Elizabeth Stadium, whatever you prefer to call it. This is where West Ham moved to, and I showed you the video of them filming a scene for Final Score where they blew up part of the old West Ham Stadium, and this is where that team moved to. So again, just the reason why I was looking at it is because I was just thinking of the reference to the stadium representing the womb, or the egg, and right next to it there being this weird tower-like structure, which I would think would represent the penis or the sperm. And when I was thinking of that, I thought, oh, let me go back and check at the O2 Arena, see if there's something like that. And I had to zoom in quite a bit to find anything that might match that, and I found it kind of just right outside the O2 Arena. I had to go into a 3D view to even really see it, but you can see just here there's another obelisk-like structure right outside the dome. So again, I thought, representation of the egg or the womb, and the penis or the sperm, signifying the symbolic birthing of the Antichrist. And obviously in the UK there's a lot of history, and the Queen and the royalty and all of that is steeped in satanic culture, so it's not a surprise to see something like this replicated on UK soil, although I'm obviously disappointed that it's happening in my lifetime, and I didn't really pay attention when it was going up. And then as I was thinking about all of that, I was zooming out and I was thinking, okay, yeah, the River Thames represents the fallopian tubes, or the birthing canal, and I was thinking, but the way it bends, rivers don't naturally bend like that. This was obviously created a long time ago to shape that way. And I was thinking it kind of reminds me of a snake. And as I was zooming out, it reminded me even more of a snake because of the way the river gets thinner up towards here and widens as you go along. Obviously, rivers do that. But looking at it from the symbolic state of mind, it kind of placed the O2 arena, which is like the symbolic representation of the womb or the ovaries, kind of in the correct place of where it would be on a real snake, towards the end of the snake. So I followed the body, and as it got wider and fat, I just wanted to kind of see if there was a head, where it would be, that kind of thing. And I got to this point where the river widens and goes out into the sea, and obviously it's naturally going to be wider, but I was thinking symbolically, if this area represents the head, there's a part of the river that kind of forks off over here, which kind of just reminds me of the forking of a snake's tongue. So it was like, okay, the fork of the tongue going to where the head would be, and then following the body all the way down to where the womb would be, and inside of the womb we have the ovary, or sorry, the egg, which represents where the birthing would take place. And then I went back to London Stadium, and I was thinking, is this the same kind of thing? Does the river represent ovaries? And I've said that before, but as I zoomed out, I realized that actually the way that the river is designed, they've kind of given it a straight line down here, and then it goes in a ring around the London Stadium, which just represents a sperm. And I was thinking, okay, so what they've done is they've made the London Stadium the sperm, as you can see the way the river goes around it, and they've connected it to the River Thames down about here, and the O2 arena is just here. So the whole story there seems to be the sperm coming down into the body of the snake around where the womb would be, impregnating the egg, and the birthing ritual would be just like that. I was like, oh man, if that's correct, then symbolically they would blow this one first as the sperm, and then they would blow this one as the womb, signifying that ritual. So I thought I'd just bring that information to you guys, and I was thinking, if the Superdome is involved, then possibly the New Orleans Stadium would represent the penis or the sperm, and the Atlanta Stadium would represent the womb or the egg. And I say that because the Atlanta Stadium, a lot of you guys have already pointed out, the way it's shaped, like a flower or like a lotus, and that could be obviously connected to what we have blooming out of the middle here. And in the middle we have 8, which I've referenced as half time. We have the apple divided in half, which also seems to roll across the ground like a football, to Obama's foot, given that double meaning of football. So that reference would be, Super Bowl for you guys, or football UK for us. So on the 3rd of February, football games will be taking place in both of our countries at 8 o'clock. West Ham versus Liverpool over here in the London Stadium, which would be, representative of the sperm, and you guys will be having the Super Bowl, obviously, in the stadium that's representative of the womb. So it's very possible that it could be 4 stadiums, 2 in each country, or it could be 1 stadium over here, London Stadium, where they're having a football match, and 1 stadium in the United States, the Atlanta Stadium, where they're having a football match. But obviously I don't discount the other 2, because we still have the reference to comedy and comedian and Ravensbourne, and that's obviously maybe linked to the O2 arena, and we still have the reference to the Saints and that whole reference there, the ceiling, pieces of it falling down there. So there's still watches on those 2. And when I was thinking about the timing, like 8 o'clock, I was also thinking it could be also 8:30, because we do have the 8 in the middle and a halftime reference. but we've also got the 3 seeds, 1, 2, and 1, and then we've got no seed here, which is 3 and 0. So if you take that with the 8, that could be telling you, sorry, I still haven't, I have to buy a new fan, so apologies. So that could be actually telling us 8:30, as well as telling us, you know, 3rd of February with the F coming out here. Now, coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, but the 3rd of February is also another date that we watched out for, which is the 21st of January, but on the Julian calendar, as the Julian calendar runs 13 days behind the Gregorian calendar. So on the 21st of January, we had the blood moon eclipse, and we was looking out for the eruption of Kilauea and possibly Mount Etna as well, and possibly Cumbre Vieja. And there's also news about Yellowstone, and there's other volcanoes, but the main ones I was looking out for were Kilauea, Mount Etna, and La Cumbre Vieja. Now, it's the 21st of January on the Julian calendar, when it's the 3rd of January on the Gregorian calendar. So we could have a double reference here where we get, sorry, I don't know why it just goes crazy, but yeah, we could have, come on, we could have a double reference having the 21 of January where we had the blood moon eclipse, and we could see the volcanic eruptions of Kilauea, Mount Etna, and La Cumbre Vieja. And it's the 3rd of February on the Gregorian calendar, where we could have the Superbowl reference, the football reference, and in that way, every interpretation that we put on this scene would kind of be fulfilled, I think. Having a representation on the Julian calendar, 21, and a representation on the Gregorian calendar, number 3, both of those being on the same day, and just basically covering everything. So definitely keep an eye out on the 3rd of February. Obviously, there's a possibility that it could be a different date, but, you know, Super Bowl, football, UK, United States, 21 on the Julian calendar, blood moon eclipse happened on that day, volcanoes depicted on the apple, or one volcano depicted on the apple, but multiple interpretations for different volcanoes coming from that. The foot symbolizing Italy, the apple symbolizing the island, the volcano on it being the volcano on the island, as well as Obama being a connection to Hawaii, the eruption of Kilauea, Hawaii receiving its statehood on the 21st of August, which again, 2, 1, and 8. So there's multiple interpretations. They all seem to interlink and connect with each other. And the other possible thing I want to point out is if it was 8:30 over here, for example, and something happened at one of the stadiums or both of the stadiums or somewhere else, or not at all, I'll just put that to the side. But if something did happen at 8:30, it would be 3:30 over in the United States on the East Coast. And that could be a possible reference to why we are in a classroom setting, not just a reference to Ravensbourne University, if that's a possible connection, but the timing of when children leave school. And we obviously have an emphasis on exit, so it could be telling us 3:30, you know, United States time or East Coast time, when children leave school. Something could be happening over in the UK at 8:30 related to football, possibly comedy as well, linking with the O2 Arena, Ravensbourne University. Even the underground is very close, and you guys know I've talked about the TFL a lot, so, you know, it could all link together, as in it may not be actually the underground, it could just be telling you a location, as in underground university next to a dome where a comedy tour is taking place. But all of that is just interpretation, so I have no inside information as to whether any of that's going to happen. But I think you guys will agree, taken that way, you've got the reference to the comedy tour, the reference to the football, the reference to the stadium looking like a lotus flower, the timing for halftime, which again, Apple split in half, 8, could be 8:30, half an hour after halftime, still double half reference. The whole stadium location being, possibly inside the belly of a snake, where the snake is represented by the river, and that's all connected to the London Stadium, the London Stadium, where it's actually inside, the river that's shaped like a sperm, just, kind of going around it, and then that's linked to the river, which is the snake, which is just on the opposite side of the O2 Arena, which is the egg. There's so many different connections here, and obviously the significance of it being 21 on the Julian calendar, blood moon eclipse, volcanic eruptions, as well as the third Superbowl and all of that stuff. Hope you guys were able to follow that. Sorry for the interruptions by the fan. Hopefully I managed to quiet it down enough. I have to buy a completely new one. I opened up the computer, cleaned it out completely, and it was running smoothly for a while. But as I said, I think I'm going to have to replace it. I think the fan blades may have bent or something. I have dropped the laptop a couple of times, so there are possibilities I've damaged internal components when that happened. Hopefully a new fan will be here within a couple of days. I'll order one very shortly, and then we can put this fan noise business to rest. It's not me typing. My computer is not generating my voice. But there's so many different interesting theories you guys have around why the computer is making these noises. But I think it's just a very mundane, explainable reason. I was careless with the laptop. I probably damaged the internal component, and I need to replace it. You guys keep all the information I just revealed to you in mind. We'll keep watch. Obviously, nothing has happened on the 30th. The 31st is about to come to an end. We didn't see anything with Iran, so there are two more possible links where the 3 and 1 could be a representation of the 4th. And obviously, if something happens on the 3rd, it may be more likely that Iran comes out and blocks the Strait of Hormuz, feels a bit more emboldened to respond to Israel if they feel that, their allies are distracted by other things that happen in their countries. Obviously, there's a possibility that Iran or Islam in general could be blamed for the attacks on these stadiums if they do take place. I think that may be connected to why we have not just a representation of a mosque, but I think the half moon crescent representing Islam may be a symbolic representation of blame. So having it, fall inside of the dome kind of gives me the impression that Islam, or Iran more specifically, will be blamed for the attack, and that would, bolster things into running along in that timeline of Iran then coming out and responding, and things evolving from there. If that does happen, then obviously that puts China coming forward on the new year right into place. If none of that happens, then we've got the Julian timeline to look out for, and if nothing happens then my interpretations for the IPEC GOAT 2 is over. The information will still remain on my channel and will be accessible to anyone and everyone who wishes to view it. But I won't be doing anything new on the subject. There'll be other things to investigate and to share. So I'll be doing that. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and as always, may the Heavenly Father bless you.